Bob is channeling my inner Ravens knowledge here. If you don't know, I do host Locked On Ravens. I don't know if I've told you before, Zach. I do.
Wow, what?
I know. I keep it close to the vest.
Let's do this.
But
if you are tuning in for Orioles, we will get back to that in a minute. But I do just want to real quick. What is your prediction for this year, Kevin, for the Ravens? Let's get a little positive vibes because I don't think mine's going to be the same as yours.
I had them anywhere from 12 to 13 wins.
I didn't ask where you had them in the range from. I said make a prediction, Kevin.
I'll say 12-5.
Awesome.
I'll say that's enough to win the North.
Yeah, 11-6. They're a wild card team and they win the Super Bowl. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
Ravens only win it when they have to go through some adversity on the road. That's just how it works. But I think 11-7 or 11-6. I think they struggle. I think there's going to be another time where they lose like 2-3 straight. And I think it's going to be massive panic. I think people are going to be calling for Harbaugh. People are going to be doing – it's going to be just this massive – the world's ending, the sky's falling. But I think it's 11-6, and I think they go win the Super Bowl. That is not only in the town that they won it in last time, but Jacoby Jones' hometown. In the same building that he returned the Super Bowl kicking.
Yeah, it's going to be an adjustment period. I mean, again, they have a lot of young guys trying to replace vets, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And this is true, Mike, very true. So maybe it is destiny, but there are going to be growing pains along the way. And they are
going to, and one of them's going to be to the fucking Steelers. I have already prepared myself for some 3rd and 23. Justin Fields in the fourth quarter with less than a minute left breaks the pocket and just like breaks 3 tackles and stumbles his way to the first down, and then they kick a game-winning field goal. Like, I've already decided.
Well, I think the stat is they are 1-7 in the last 4 seasons against Pittsburgh. And another stat for you is Lamar Jackson has never played both games against the Steelers in a season ever since he started, because he's either been injured or the games haven't meant anything. So he's never played more than 1 game against the Steelers in the regular season. But the Ravens, they love to play up the competition. Oh, that's a good point. 12 years later. But yeah, they play up the competition. They play down to competition. I think that's good for them when they get into the playoffs, because it's like, all right, you're playing up to your competition, except when you completely run away literally from your identity in the Asian Championship game like they did. But it's all going to depend on health. I mean, injuries are such a big catalyst. And the Ravens, while they were healthy in terms of season-ending injuries last season, they were not healthy last year. They had a lot of guys miss a month and a half, miss 2 weeks, and guys were going in and out and in and out and in and out. So it's not like the years we had seen in the past when they had 20 guys on IR per season for like the last 3 years before this last one. But they were still having guys on short-term IR. Marlon missed time. Marcus Williams missed time. Early in the season, it was Linderbaum and Stanley and OBJ and Bateman, and I could go on and on and on with that list. But yeah, and this is the thing too. Julie makes a point here where, like, if they beat the Chiefs in week 1, people are saying, "Oh, this revenge is revenge." That's not the revenge.
No,
the revenge is in the playoffs.
Yes, Kevin, and you know how I'm pissed that we got week 1 against the Chiefs. That was the one game I didn't want, because I already left last year seeing Patrick Mahomes' dumb face, the face of football, greatest of all time. I hate it, but you got to respect it. I just hate that it's week 1, because a win, like you said, a win means absolutely nothing, and people are going to make that narrative if they win or lose. If they win, it's, oh, that was revenge. It wasn't revenge. If they lose, it's, oh, another year they can't beat Kansas State. I don't care about week 1. It would be dope if they won, but week 1's not deciding the season. We watched the Chiefs lose week 1 to the Lions last year. It doesn't decide the season. And more importantly, it's not revenge. This is nowhere close to the AFC Championship. You want revenge? You want to right last year's wrongs? Beat them in the playoffs. If it's not that, who cares? Who cares about it? Because it's not what's a regular season win? At this point, I'm tired of nothing the Ravens do, and I hate that I'm to this point because I love football. I love the regular season. I just love everything about it. I don't care about the regular season this year, Kevin. What can you do in the playoffs? We could go 17-0. It's not going to change my feelings. Like, it's truly, we're at the point in Harbaugh's tenure as a coach and in Lamar's career as the quarterback where we've seen them be the 1 seed. We've seen them, Lamar, win 2 MVPs. It's, can you go win the big one? And if you can't, then something's got to change.
Yeah, and I think everybody feels the same way that you do, where like regular season is a place to build habits. It's a play. You obviously have to play well in the regular season, but the Ravens are a good regular season team no matter how you slice it, unless injuries decimate them, right? Yeah. I'd be shocked if they had a somewhat healthy season this year and they weren't in the playoffs. But no one cares. I mean, honestly, I think everybody in Baltimore, Zach, would rather them be a wild card team or would rather them be the 4 seed.
I would.
As opposed to the 1.
Let Cincinnati, an 8 mile, 8 mile Eminem looking quarterback go win the division. That can be their Super Bowl since they love flexing Super Bowl losses so much. You can have that one.
Yeah, and I see everybody is. This was 2 days.
I'm not saying anything positive about Kansas City.
Okay, yeah. This was 2 days after my birthday, and it was not a fun time. So
I forgot that our birthdays were so close because then mine was a week later.
This is February what?
7th.
Okay.
So we're literally like
we're like 11 days apart, 12 days apart, whatever it may be. Yeah. So it was it was not good. But I also see I know Mike said this and Joe also said it as well. Is this year a Super Bowl or bust victory? Or is this year Super Bowl or bust for John Harbaugh in terms of him getting fired? I don't know what the organization feels right now. Because if they lose in the wild card round again or they lose in the divisional round again, serious conversations have to be had. That doesn't mean they move on, right? Doesn't mean that at all. I think John, and I've said this on Locked On Ravens a ton, so people who listen already know what I'm going to say. But John Harbaugh is a good coach, but sometimes good things come to an end, or it's time for a parting of ways. And if the Ravens do the same old script type deal where they're good in the regular season and then they lose in the wild card round or the divisional round, I think that's a failure of a season for the Ravens. I mean, every year that you don't win a Super Bowl with Lamar, you lose a year of his prime. And you can't be playing around with those years. And so the Ravens and I think Baltimore sports teams have pretty undying loyalty to their guys, which I think for the most part is a good thing. Like, I think that you would rather have a ton of loyalty as opposed to no loyalty at all. I think the players, the coaching staff, everybody respects that from those organizations. But sometimes in Baltimore, like we saw with Greg Roman, they can tend to hang on for a little too long.
Yeah.
Where it starts to do that. So I think if they make the AFC Championship game, that to me would be the toughest spot if they lose in that. But the reason that I think I was like, I was telling everybody on Locked On Ravens, because everybody wanted Harbaugh fired after the championship game. I said, they're not going to fire him because they showed growth, where they hadn't made a championship game since they won the Super Bowl 11 years ago. 10 years ago, whatever it was. So
if they make it to the Super Bowl and lose, do you think he keeps his job?
Yes.
All right. I agree with that. I don't think others agree with that. I think if you lose in the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl, as much as people hate it, is such a the better team loses. Like, they're just sometimes the better team loses.
You do have to make sure, though, if you move on from Harbaugh, if you're the Ravens, you have to have a guy that is as good, if not better, and there aren't many coaches that are. It could be better for the organization at the time, but if Harbaugh moves on from Baltimore and there's a parting of ways, there are going to be 10 teams out the door trying to get him on. He's still a good coach, but sometimes it's just not the right pairing at the right time.
Yeah, and Kevin, I have a quick question for you, just because I randomly thought of this while you're saying that. Let's say Harbaugh gets fired. Mike Vrabel, yes or no?
Nah.
No?
Belichick.
You would go Belichick.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Would you actually go Belichick? Like, would you?
I mean, who unless it's a young up, would you do like Bobby Slowick? Because if it's not a young up and coming,
I have a
young up and coming.
That is like my coordinator crush is Bobby.
But if it's not a Bobby Slowick type deal, do you want to go through? Look, there are only so many Sean.
This is a tough one because I don't think so. It can't be next year.
Not after 1 year.
Yeah,
not after
I
1 year.
Can't see it being 1 year. If it's in 2 years, I could.
If they want to keep their guys, it would be Munkin.
Would be, people would hate that, I think.
But again, we are so far out from this. Like, again,
I like how we're firing Harbaugh the day before the preseason.
I'm not even firing him. I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying like in our hypotheticals, like we've already said, okay, if Harbaugh's gone.
No, so we took the very long, windy path to answer this question. I don't believe it's Super Bowl win or bust for John Harbaugh, but it could very well be get to the Super Bowl or bust for John Harbaugh this season. But not. Maybe the Ravens stick with him again. We know that Harbaugh's a player's coach. The players love him. And contrary to popular belief, it is very hard to find a guy like that, right? There aren't like Harbaugh's and Tomlin's and Dan Campbell's and like those players' coaches. They don't grow on trees. But we know the bond that Harbaugh has with these guys. And, while Ravens fans don't care about the regular season anymore, and I think rightfully so, it's also hard to find that consistency. So there are pros and cons to it. But look, if they lose in the wildcard round or the divisional round, that would be a failure of a season by my estimation.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow, I thought we were going to talk about the Ravens for like 2 minutes, which, by the way, it's Ravens football in an hour and 15 minutes is going to be today. Game day is in an hour and 15 minutes. So, man, also, and I had a great conversation. Yeah, man, that was you went all fangirl right there.
I know, it's football season.
Yeah, man, I had a great conversation. I had an awesome conversation. Actually, I was telling you about this. I had Jess Rebeck on for Locked On Ravens tomorrow. That'll come out at 6 a.m. And we talked a lot about just guys to watch. And Jeff talked a lot about first of all, the running back competition. We talked about Rasheen Ali, Zach. I know your guy from Marshall, right?
Go Herd, baby.
I know that's your guy. But we had a lot of offensive line conversation too about like Ben Cleveland, Daniel Falele, and I know that a lot of people are like, okay, who's going to replace these guys? But man, football's in the air now. I am more of a warm weather person, so as the weather gets colder, I'm just kind of like, damn. But yeah. Football is back and it's exciting. So we have a lot of content planned for that. We are going to be not preseason, but we are going to be doing, I think, live watch alongs for the games as much as we can this season, where Zach and I will have a feed and then we will be reacting at the same time. Because if I'm ahead of Zach and then I react and he's like, what's going on? Or if he reacts and then I'm like, what's going on? We don't want to have a delayed reaction. So we should be watching the same thing. But again, that'll be a fun conversation. So, man, this has turned into
Locked On Ravens.
Locked On Ravens, man. Jeez.
Shout out Rasheen Ali. Go Herd, baby.
Yeah.
Go Herd.
Do we have any other Orioles stuff to get into? Actually, one conversation. We can have one conversation on the way out.
Yeah.
Actually, in just a very brief side conversation, we're all going to be doing Ryan Ripken fantasy leagues this season. We don't know exactly what that is going to look like yet. And then I'm also doing on the side Locked On Ravens fantasy leagues. I let anybody in who wants to join. So I'll put out a tweet probably in the next week or so, maybe even less than that, honestly, about, you can DM me on Twitter or comment on those tweets if you want to join a Locked On Ravens fantasy league. Could be the same for Ryan's fantasy leagues as well. We're still trying to figure out what that looks like. But I know for me, since I'm the one hosting Locked On Ravens leagues, I mean, I've managed up to 10 leagues before. I can do more. So fantasy football, man, it's a great time as well. And I know you're drafting Stephon Diggs in every one of your leagues. So can't wait for that for you.
Don't you put that juju on me, Ricky.